We're live.
Okay, we're live. Good luck, everyone. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening for our Milat Malka, for our Rabbanim, our guest speakers who are here. Right now, one out of our two Rabbanim are here. Rabbi Yehoshua Rubenstein is on his way, stuck in traffic from the 5 towns. Rabbi Moshe Tzvi Weinberg was already in Edison over Shabbos, so he was, even though he lives in Bergenfield, but he's a little bit closer. So heading back home on due north, was able to stop by and spend some time with us this evening. It's a unique honor for me to have Rabbi Moshe Tzvi, as he is lovingly called around town, in our midst. Rabbi Moshe Tzvi and I go way back to our Camp Misora days, back when John Walsman was our counselor at Camp Misora. We were there together for about four summers, maybe 5 summers, I don't remember. What I would say is, and you'll see the same thing with Rabbi Rubenstein, there's a lot that you could say about them, but the one thing, that the way you can tell that a person, a human being, is legit, for no lack of a better word, is by their smile. And Moshe Tzvi and Rubenstein, both, their smiles are just so, the word that I'm looking for, you gravitate towards them. Their positivity and their simcha, especially in the month of Adar, is something which you can really appreciate. And even though I don't see Rav Moshe Tzvi that often, just the opportunity to have him in our midst and to see his face, even though his beard is a little longer than when we were in camp together. It's a beautiful thing, and it's really special for me to have him here. So that's enough of my spiel. Rav Moshe Tzvi is what is your official title in Hawaii? A Rabbi. Okay, fine. Rav Moshe Tzvi is one of the Rabbeim at Yeshiva University. He's also I think the official title at Beit Abraham is the Mashpia. There you go. Also the Rav at Beit Abraham, as well as a Mechanech in all of the schools all around the tri-state area. He's very busy, and I'm so glad that he made the time this evening to spend a few minutes with us to share some Divrei Torah in this month of Adar. So, without any further ado, I'd like to ask Rabbi Moshe Tzvi to say a few words.
What do you think? Should I sit? Should I stand? What do you prefer? Stand, right? Stand. Okay. That's why I asked. I can tell this is a crowd that knows what they want.
It's an outstanding crowd.
Sure. Standing room only. Okay, Rabbi, do you want to pass around that picture? No, yeah. We're allowed to talk about that? Rabbi Hess has a picture in his pocket of us from the good old days. I don't know, I think it's worth sharing with you. Sure. I think it's let people have a little knock or something. Okay, if you can find me, then you win a free burger or something like that.
I need to take a
It's
picture.
really nice. You can take a picture. Absolutely. Just don't share it too widely on social media. We have a reputation to maintain here. Okay, thank you very much for all coming out. It's very, very nice to see Baruch Hashem what's happening here in Linden. I don't think I've ever been here. I don't think I've had the opportunity to visit your shul and to visit your rabbi and to visit your community. But like Rabbi Hess said, we go back quite a few years. And we have many, many fond memories together, and I'm so glad this evening was able to come together and happen. So Rabbi Hess gave me a good lead-in because he said we're in the month of Adar, which is the month of Simcha, a joyous time for the Jewish people. So with your permission, I'd like to speak about what it means to be B'Simcha. What does it mean to be joyous? What does it mean to be happy? Is being happy a mitzvah? Is being happy something that as Jews we're expected to do? Is it extra credit, to serve God with joy as opposed to just serving God out of a sense of responsibility? So the truth is, when you think about Simcha, and you hear the way that some of the great tzaddikim throughout the generations spoke about Simcha, they referred to it as a mitzvah. They spoke about it as a mitzvah. And it's interesting because typically a person's either you're happy or you're not. Sometimes when it comes to doing mitzvahs, we have to energize ourselves, we have to motivate ourselves. We have to learn what's expected of us. Happiness is an emotion. If you're in a good mood, you're happy. You're not in the good mood, you're not so happy. And yet, if you look throughout Tanakh, you look throughout interesting statements of our sages, you look through different works of great tzaddikim throughout the generations, they talk about the mitzvah and the avoda. The avoda, the work of simcha. What is the work of simcha? What does it mean to work on being happy? That's question number one. Question number two is that if you look in the Gemara when it describes the month of Adar, it says, Mishanichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha. When Adar arrives, so we have to be overjoyed. We increase our joy. So I'll ask you a very, very simple question. Let's try to think about this for just half a second in an honest way. What was it like to be a Jew in the month of Adar? And let's try to go back into, let's go back into the Purim story. Let's try to re-experience it the way that it must have felt like for a Jew living at that time. Mishanichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha. When Adar arrives, was there any moment in history? Could you argue that there was even a moment in history that was more scary than Mishanichnas Adar? Haman had a plot to kill all the Jewish people, men, women, children, young, old. It didn't matter. A Jew was a Jew to Haman. It didn't matter how religious you are, more to the right, more to the left, more to the middle. It didn't matter what you looked like. If you were a Jew, Haman said, I'm interested in destroying you. Hashmid, laharog, la'abed, to erase and destroy every single Jew. And Haman's plan was to kill us in the month of Adar. So, Mishanichnas Adar, when Adar arrives, that's like when the court date arrives. Right? That was the scariest time for the Jewish people. So I saw a great Hasidic Rebbe, the Moshe Rebbe, asked, why don't our sages say, Mishayatza Adar, when Adar's over, when the Jews are saved, and everything worked out, maybe that's the right time to be happy? Maybe once things worked out and everyone is safe, that's the time to be happy. What Mishanichnas Adar? Marvin the simple. When Adar arrives, we try to increase our joy. It's a difficult feeling for us to have. With a decree of Haman hanging over our heads. It's very difficult for a Jew to be joyous in that way. So the Moshe Tzvi Rebbe says, the truth is the Jewish people have always, and this is really the strength of who we are, and this is what it really means to be happy. There's a tzaddik in Eretz Yisrael today. His name is Rabbi Tzvi Weinberg. There's a beautiful sefer on Purim. And he says, simcha, joy, is not the same thing as hatzlacha, success. Meaning when a person is successful and everything's working out, job's working out, life's working out, my health is working out, my relationships are working out, when everything's working out and a person walks around with a smile on their face, so Hashem says, that's very nice, but of course you're happy. Everything's working out for you. The mitzvah of simcha, the challenge of simcha, the work of simcha, the character trait of simcha that we're trying to develop and trying to acquire is how do I feel and how do I present myself and can I be truly joyous when I don't yet have everything worked out? When I haven't solved all of the problems yet? When I'm still living in that challenge, in that difficulty? One of the most amazing things, and I turn to the Jewish women for this one, because the Jewish women led the way when it came to this. When the Jewish women crossed the Yam Suf, they made it to the other side of the water. And Miriam, Hanaviah, takes out her musical instruments and starts leading the women in song and dance. So Chazal ask, our sages ask, where on earth did they get the instruments from? I'm a musician. I remember, I have very fond memories going to different stores and checking out different instruments. I can't imagine there was like, Sam Ash or whatever, wherever they went shopping, like right on the other side of the Yam Suf, Miriam walked in, she bought some tambourines, she handed out the drums, right? So where did they get the instruments from? So the Midrash says that the Jewish women were so confident and so trusting and so believing that Hashem was going to provide for them, that when they left Mitzrayim, with all of their anxiety and all their uncertainty, hello Rabbi Rubenstein, welcome. With all of their uncertainty, with all the things that had yet to be resolved, they hadn't worked it out yet. And yet the Jewish women said, when we leave Mitzrayim, we're taking instruments with us. Because they knew that when they get to the other side of that Yam Suf, they knew Hashem was going to provide for them. How it was going to work out exactly, they didn't know. But that was the strength of the Jewish people. There's a beautiful pasuk in Tehillim. The pasuk says that Hashem vayar b'tzar lahem. Hashem saw their suffering. B'sham'o es rinasam. When Hashem heard rinasam, what does rinasam mean? Their songs. What does David HaMelech mean? Vayar batzar lehem. God looked at the Jews suffering and he heard their song. Who sings when they're suffering? And the answer is the Jewish people are very strong people. The Jewish people have this amazing ability to look beyond whatever difficulty faces them right now, because we believe Hashem's in charge. God has a plan. Kadosh Baruch Hu has his way of working things out. So explain the Moshe Tzvi Rebbe, Mishenichnas Adar, Marvin B'Simcha. When Adar arrives, when you come to the beginning of the month, not after Haman's plan has already been foiled, and not after the Jews are saved, but when a Jew's still not sure exactly how's this going to play out, 2,000 years we haven't had a Beis HaMikdash. We daven every day, Mashiach, Beis HaMikdash, redemption. We don't know exactly how the story is going to end, right? But we're confident that it's going to end in a good way because Hashem is still in charge. So the challenge to the Jewish people in the month of Adar, right, is Mishenichnas Adar. When Adar arrives, when we first enter into the month of Adar, Marvin B'Simcha, we increase our joy. The beginning of Adar is so scary. Again, if we're reading the Megillah as if we're reading it for the first time, we don't know how it's going to end. There's an amazing Mishnah. The Mishnah says that Hakore es ha-Megillah l'mafreya lo yatza. If you read the Megillah backwards, in case you weren't sure, in case anyone was has an unusual practice, I don't know what the practice is in Linden. Most people read the Megillah from beginning to end. In case someone had a desire to read it backwards, so the Mishnah says you're not allowed to read the Megillah backwards. Hakore es ha-Megillah l'mafreya lo yatza. If you read the Megillah backwards, you don't fulfill your obligation. Why can't you read the Megillah backwards? Why would you want to read the Megillah backwards? Do you know why you might want to read the Megillah backwards? Because when you open up the Megillah and you see what's happening, you just want to know what the end of the story is going to be. I just want to know that the Jewish people are going to be okay. I just want to know that somehow this is going to work out, going to resolve itself in a healthy way. Right? So I kind of just want to peek to the last chapter, just make sure that everything works out at the end. I'll let you in on a little rabbi secret. Sometimes, you're looking something up in a sefer, halachic question, let's say a modern halachic shaila. And some of the great rabbis throughout the generations wrote these long, long essays explaining, why they believe this is permitted or not permitted. So if you ever want to just know the answer, you know what you do? You go to the last couple of lines, you peek at the back. Right? Moshe Feinstein has this whole long explanation of how he came to his conclusions, which is really interesting and really important to learn. But sometimes you just need to know, can I or can I not do this on Shabbos? So you go to the last little paragraph, where Moshe Feinstein says, from all that I've said previously, I conclude that you're allowed to do this on Shabbos. Okay, good. We're in the clear. Right? So a Jew opens up the Megillah and you just want to turn to the end. You just want to know that it works out okay. You just want to know the Jewish people are safe at the end. Right? But Chazal say, Hakori es ha-Megillah l'mafreya lo yatza. If you read the Megillah backwards, you haven't really fulfilled your obligation. Because once you know everything's good, and then you put a smile on your face, you're not really offering Hashem anything. You're not showing your faith in Hashem. When you open the Megillah to the beginning, and you see how powerful Haman is, and how manipulative Haman is, and how scary it is for the Jewish people, and then, amidst all of that craziness, you're able to still do the simcha. That's Mishenichnas Adar, when the month of Adar arrives, Marvin the simcha. A couple of weeks ago, Moshe Rabbeinu says to Hashem, I want to see your face. I want to see you, God. So Hashem, in a very cryptic passage in the Torah, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, listen, you're not able to see my face, but I'm going to put you in a special place, and I'm going to remove my hand, and I'm going to allow you to catch a glimpse of my back. V'ra'isas acharai, you'll see my back. Panai lo yirah, but you're not going to see my face. What does it mean to see God's back? God doesn't have a body, Hashem doesn't have a back, a front. What does it mean to see Hashem's back? So Chassam Sofer explains, seeing Hashem's back means understanding Hashem in reverse. Seeing Hashem's back means once things work out, then I'm able to look back and say, now I understand why this happened, and why this happened, and why this happened. But Hashem says to Moshe, you're a human being. Panai lo yirah, you'll never understand me. You'll never be able to understand me when things are moving forward. It's just too hard. You can't understand how Hashem runs the world. The holy Berditchever, the Kedushas Levi, of Levi Yitzchak Berditchev, he used to come to the Pesach Seder, where we ask the 4 questions. Right? Often it's a child, but if not, anyone can ask the 4 questions. You ask the questions to yourself. Right? We ask the 4 questions. So Levi Yitzchak Berditchev used to say, Hashem, do you think I only have 4 questions for you? I have 4 million questions for you. I don't understand anything that you do. Right? I always say after the Holocaust, we have 6 million questions for God. We have at least 6 million questions for God. Right? And Hashem says, you're not going to understand me forward, you'll understand me in reverse. But Hashem's challenge to the Jewish people in the month of Adar is when things are still unfolding, Mishenichnas Adar, when Haman's still in charge, Marbin B'Simcha. Put a smile on your face. Learn how to deepen your connection and your faith in a Kadosh Baruch Hu that everything's going to work out okay in the end. I'll just tell you one amazing story. Really, such a beautiful and sweet story. And there's a lot of lessons you can take from this story. But I'll just share one. I saw such a great story. There was a tzaddik named, Hasidic Rebbe named Naftali of Ropshitz. Zecher Tzaddik Levracha. So the Ropshitzer was once approached by his Gabbai, and his Gabbai was all bent out of shape. So he says, the Rebbe says, what's wrong? What's bothering you? He says, I'll tell you what's bothering me. He says, my talis and tefillin were stolen. So, okay, that's very sad. Ropshitzer says, so what's the problem? He says, Rebbe, my talis and tefillin were stolen. That's a big deal. So the Rebbe says, tell me about these tefillin. Well, what type of tefillin? What do you mean your tefillin were stolen? Your tefillin were stolen? Tell me about these tefillin. So he says, I'm a Chesed Shiyah. I wear 2 pairs of tefillin. Right? Rashi tefillin, Rabbeinu Tam tefillin. Different practices of how to arrange the parshios inside of the boxes, inside the tefillin. I wear both pairs. Now only 1 pair, 2 pairs of tefillin were stolen. So the Rav Shlomo said, what do you mean? You said your tefillin are stolen. He said, yeah, they were my tefillin. He said, they're not your tefillin. It's Rashi's tefillin. It's Rabbeinu Tam's tefillin. They're not your tefillin. So he says, what else was stolen? He says, my talis was stolen. He says, tell me about your talis. So he says, well, Rebbe, it was a very expensive talis, Turkish wool. A Turkish talis. He says, oh, it's not your talis, it's a Turkish talis. Not your talis. So he says, what else? So he says, I had my Berditcher siddur. It was printed in Berditcher. I love that siddur. I always daven from that siddur. Oh, it's not your siddur, it's a Berditcher siddur. That's an art scroll siddur, it's not your siddur. So he said, you said your stuff was stolen. Nothing of yours was stolen. So Rebbe says, anything else? What are you so bent at? None of the stuff was yours. What are you so bent out of shape about? He says, was there anything else? So he's thinking. Rebbe says, what was it in? What were your talis and tefillin in? He said, it was in like a old ripped, like plastic bag. So he said, oh, the plastic bag, that's yours. The bag is yours. The tefillin, Rashi's tefillin, or Rabbeinu Tam's tefillin, the talis is a Turkish talis, the Berditcher siddur. The ripped bag is yours. A lot of lessons you can take from that story. One lesson from that story is, we sometimes think that we do Hashem a lot of favors, I give Hashem my davening, I put on tefillin for Hashem, I keep Shabbos for Hashem, I keep kosher for Hashem. I do all these things for Hashem. Hashem says, that's not for me, that's what I do for you. I gave you Shabbos, I gave you davening, I gave you tefillin, I gave you mitzvahs. You know what you do for me? You know what's really yours, so to speak, from this world? It's that ripped bag. It's that ripped bag. It's the struggles that we go through in this world. And to be able to do it in a dignified fashion, and to be able, Mishenichnas Adar, Marbin B'Simcha. Don't read the Megillah backwards. As Jews, we have to open up that Megillah just less than 2 weeks from now. We open up the Megillah, and we go through all of that fear and anxiety that Klal Yisrael were going through as the Megillah was unfolding. And we see Haman come to power. And we see the Jews mourning themselves. But then we see the Jews strengthening themselves. Leichnos Kol Yehudim, the Jews get together like we're doing tonight, Jews coming together. Right? And we learn together, and they daven together. Okay, they were fasting and we're eating, but fine, so one difference. Right? But Jews come together, and we strengthen ourselves. And then by the time you get to the end of the Megillah, Hashem says, wow, that was courageous. Your ability to be b'simcha, to really be b'simcha, have deep joy and a deep appreciation that Hashem is always in charge, no matter how crazy the world gets. To show as Jews that we still believe, and that we can still put a smile on our face, even though everyone's got their things that they're worried about. Everyone has the things that have yet to resolve themselves. But to believe that Hashem is still in charge and everything's going to work out okay. So give us all a big bracha in the month of Adar. Again, what an amazing insight. Yishenichnas Adar Marbin B'Simcha. To be like Miriam, who took the instruments out of Mitzrayim. When Klal Yisrael are standing at the Yam Suf, not knowing what's going to be, and Miriam's she's already got her musical instruments ready to go. As the pasuk in Tehillim says, Vayar b'tzar lahem, when Hashem saw the Jews in their pain, and yet Hashem hears Rina Sam, he hears them singing. That's the amazing strength of the Jewish people, and that's who we are as a people. So Mirza Hashem, we should be able to dig deep into ourselves, to feel that genuine sense of simcha. Again, it's not hatzlacha, it's not success. When you're successful and you're happy, it's a different thing. But when life still has its challenges, which is true for all of us, and to be able to show Hashem that we're still believing Jews, and we're still longing Jews, and we're still hopeful Jews, that's really the donation, so to speak, that we make to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Mirza Hashem, we should feel that sense of tremendous simcha and joy in our lives.
So I can put this in.
Really got it. What was this next? That's impressive.
Water.
Okay. So, thank you very much, Tzvi, for your beautiful words. I would say that the one thing that not that I didn't catch everything, but the one thing I just wanted to point out, Moshe Tzvi said that he was a musician. If I remember correctly, I feel like you taught yourself how to play the guitar in camp, or right before camp. Like you came to camp one summer and you just taught yourself how to do it. Just saying that was one of the many talents that you kind of pick up. Besides for other creative ideas that Moshe Tzvi had in camp.
Well said, well said.
That's for another time. Don't let the beards fool you. Moshe Tzvi was actually a fantastic hockey player. That's what I remember. While I used to.
Hockey players are good, huh?
That's also true. You're right. While I used to spend a lot of time playing basketball with Rabbi Rubenstein back in Los Angeles, when I went every summer to camp, I got to play hockey with Moshe Tzvi. You know, it's much harder. It was much harder 15 or 20 years ago to keep in touch with your camp friends, especially when you live on the other side of the country. So I would go back and forth, and I would see Moshe Tzvi and all the other guys who now all live in Bergenfield, who I would see them for 2 months, go back, not say a word to them, come back, and we're just like best friends again. So even though we've kind of been away for like 10 or 12 years, it's you can show up at just like camp, you're best friends again. Well, I think I saw Moshe Tzvi a few years ago. Anyhow, honored to have Rabbi Yeshiva University with us as well. I said I know Moshe Tzvi since I was a youngster in Lower Neirot, I guess it was. That was our bunk age, the classification for the group in those days. But Rabbi Rubenstein I know since I was in diapers, basically. We both grew up in the valley. I left, I made Aliyah from the valley to the city in 2nd grade. But we were in the valley together at Shari Tzedek. I still remember going over to your house, even though I was friendlier, I guess, with Rabbi Rubenstein's cousin. I don't know what he goes by now. Also Rabbi Rubenstein. But nonetheless, we've known each other forever. We also had the opportunity to spend a year in Israel together. The funny thing was, I just noticed that about 6 months ago, I was looking through my halacha svarim, and I opened up my Piskei Teshuvos. I'm not sure why I opened up the 5th chelik of Piskei Teshuvos, because I wasn't time yet to study for Pesach or Yontif yet. Maybe it was Yontif. Okay, anyhow, I opened up, and all of a sudden it says, L'Hashem Artzu Maloa Mordechai Yehoshua Rubenstein. I'm like, what the heck? Why do I have his sefer? Oops. I said I probably stole it from him in Yeshiva. So I asked for mechila. He said, don't worry, I must have given it to you as a matana, so nothing to worry about. So I didn't bring it, not on the table. I left it in my office. But anyhow, really special for me to have both Rav Moshe Tzvi and Rav Rubenstein here together, surrounded by the two of them. I don't want to take credit for their rise to stardom in the world, but I have a connection to both of them. So I'm just saying that maybe I do have something to do with it. I don't know. But anyhow, Baruch Hashem, to be surrounded, to grow up with individuals who have such talent and such kochos. It's really special for me, and perhaps more than I influenced them, they influenced me, and it's really, really special that I get the opportunity to spend time with both of them, and just as we have the opportunity to hear from Rav Moshe Tzvi, now looking forward to hearing from Rav Rubenstein. The floor is yours.
I must tell you, this is a tremendous chus. I'm very excited to be here. It gives me tremendous nachas to look around this room, to look around this shul, and to see the work that your Rav Yeshiva is doing here. It's amazing to see, as he said, growing up together, and the journey life takes us, to see the kahila that he's being maimed here. It gives me tremendous, tremendous nachas and pride. I must tell you, although we played, we definitely played had our share of playing sports together. You probably do know that he's one of the best basketball players. I can tell you that you cannot cross over Josh Hess. You cannot cross him over. If you think you can make a move around him, he's going to knock it out. And no, don't try to cross him over.
We'll keep him on our team.
Anyways, I'm sure the Torah which he's teaching you is much, much more valuable than all these things. You're very lucky, extremely lucky and gifted to be able to have such a wonderful person and Talmid Chacham leading your Kehillah. I should be zeichet to see many more years of nachas and growth in your community.
Amen.
I'm going to speak tonight a little bit about the midah of bitachon, trust in Hashem. To us, perhaps when we think about the idea of trusting in Hashem, it may seem a little bit blind. The person to say to himself when he's in a difficult situation, any life circumstance, if something's going a little bit rough or tough, to say, you know what, I'm putting this one on you. Where does that come from? What are we being soymech on? What are we relying on exactly? Is that just an empty move in a crunch? How do we understand what that means to have bitachon in Hashem, to depend on Hashem Yisbarach, not to believe in Hashem? That's called emunah. Speaking about bitachon in Hashem, which is depending on Hashem Yisbarach. I'm going to share with you a story. This story needs somewhat of an explanation. There's a deep message in this story. But looking around the room, I think it's appropriate, and I think you'll understand. In the year Tafshin Lamed Gimel, going back about 46 years ago. It was a Motzi Shabbos Kodesh. It was a Saturday night. And there was a Malav Malka taking place, similar to this, in honor of a very chashuv guest, the Tzvi Weinberg, a certain Rav, had come to town. He wanted to explain, there's a medrash which says the following thing. The Zeresh told Haman, Uba Boiker Emor Lamelech, I want you to go in the morning and to tell the king that you want to hang Haman. So the Medrash says that he wanted to time this shechting of Haman, of Mordechai, Tzaddik, at the time that Mordechai recites Kriya Shema in the morning. So of course it needs an explanation. Why specifically at that time that Mordechai is saying Kriya Shema? Does he want to take out Mordechai? So it explains with the following story. There was a very great tzaddik, about 100 years ago. His name was Moshe from Rosvida. And once, he was a youngster at the time, and he married into a family of which the grandfather of his wife was a great tzaddik, whose name was Moshe Teitelbaum, also known by his sefer, the Yismach Moshe. So the Yismach Moshe once went into a private room, and of course, a curious grandson, he wanted to peek inside and to see what the tzaddik is doing there. So he peeked into the room, and he saw that his grandfather was in deep meditation and he was becoming very fiery over what he was about to do. And he started to say Shema. He said, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And when he came to the word Echad, he came to that word Echad, which means that Hashem, you are one. And of course we know that one doesn't just mean one but not two. It means one, the Hashem's oneness means that he's everything. That he's endless. The word that we use is Ein Sof. He has no beginning and he has no end. He's beyond comprehension. The Ramchal says that even the word Echad doesn't properly describe who Hashem Yisbarach is. It's just the best word which we have to explain what it means to be beyond. And every single person has a different explanation, not explanation, but a different understanding within himself as to what that means, Hashem Echad. Really the measure of a tzaddik means and is determined by what his understanding is of Hashem. When the tzaddik Yisach Moshe said Hashem Echad, this is a very deep understanding. He said Hashem Echad, and all of his koiches, all of his energies, everything which was what he was feeling at that time, he just plotzed on the floor. Just fell on the floor. Which means that he gave himself over completely to Hashem, that he was able to feel that every fiber of his being belonged to Hashem. Don't try this at home. You have to be a real tzaddik to do this. And then he gave all of his koiches to Hashem, and he was just lying there on the floor. Based on this story, based on this understanding of the complete Mesiras Nefesh, a dedication that a tzaddik has for Hashem. So this Rav Meislish wanted to explain why it is that Haman wanted to time this killing of Mordechai at the time of Purim. The Hissorerus Shloimeh, he has a teaching on the pasuk in the Megillah, which says, it's a known word, of Chassidim especially, it says, U'shma'o holich b'chol hamadinos, that his name, that his reputation was known throughout all of the Medinas, all the countries. Everybody knew about Mordechai the Tzad. So he learns, when it says U'shma'o holich, that word U'shma'o, his reputation, comes from the word Shema. U'shma'o holich, that the Kriya Shema of Mordechai was so great that it was known b'chol hamadinos. Everybody knew that when Mordechai said Kriya Shema, how special that was when he said Kriya Shema. When he declared Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, the way that Mordechai understood this, what it means that Hashem is one, very famous. So it explains that probably the Kriya Shema of Mordechai was somewhat similar to the Kriya Shema of Yismach Moshe. So Haman said to himself, listen, I know the best time I'm going to take out Mordechai. You know the time that he's the most vulnerable? When he says Kriya Shema, and he's on the floor, I'm going to come ahead and take him out. That's what he types in Pshat in that bedroom. What obviously did Haman not know? Obviously Haman was not successful in doing so. To explain why he was not successful, we have to go to another part of the Megillah. We know that Achashverosh threw a party for 180 days celebrating what? That there would be no more Beis HaMikdash anymore. He had a 180-day party, and then another 7-day party on top of that. So altogether there was 187 days of celebrating no more Beis HaMikdash. Now the Medrash says, and we read the Megillah, and we're kind of lost as to when the 180 days took place. When did the 180 days take place? So there's a Medrash. The Medrash says that it began on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So if you count 180 days from Rosh Chodesh Nisan, so you're going to have 6 months, right? 6 times 30. Which takes you to Rosh Chodesh Tishrei. What's Rosh Chodesh Tishrei? Shoshana. So the culmination of this party, this festival, ended on Rosh Hashanah. So Rabbi Yonasan Eibshitz, he explains that this next 7 days of the party took place after Rosh Hashanah. Achashverosh didn't want to mess with Hashem. He knew he was a great God, and he knew he was really the king of all kings. Everybody knew Hashem's reputation. Everybody knew about Hashem. So I'm not going to continue my celebration on the day that Hashem crowns himself as king of the world. So we'll give off from Rosh Hashanah. We'll give off of 2 days Rosh Hashanah because it was outside of Eretz Yisrael. And we'll pick up the party afterwards. We'll count another 7 days. And when you count 7 days after Rosh Hashanah, where's the last day of the party? Kippur. Oh. So he wanted to celebrate the extermination of the Jewish people on Yom Kippur. That was the last day of the party. That was going to be the big shebang. Yom Kippur was going to be the last day. We're going to celebrate forever and ever. No more Jewish people. No more Beis HaMikdash. No more Jewish people. We'll get them to do all types of averos at this party. That was going to be the day that he was going to finish them off. Now, what happens on Yom Kippur? It gives you a totally different perspective. Sorry?
The gates of heaven are open.
Oh. What happens on this Yom Kippur day is that on this very last day, the climax of the celebration, Achashverosh tells his wife Vashti to come out inappropriately, and everything turns around. Achashverosh is drunk, he kills his wife, and the whole Nes of Purim is set into motion. But he thought that Yom Kippur would be the day that he would be able to take out the Jewish people. I think we have in our history, not so long ago, I'm sure some of you here, many of you here, experienced it, certainly knew about it, the Yom Kippur War, of course. Our enemies think that the Yom Kippur is the best day to take out the Jewish people. Everybody's in shul, everybody's davening, who's prepared, who is ready for that sneak attack Yom Kippur? It'd be the best day to take out the Jewish people. But the mistake which Haman made, and the mistake which our enemies made in recent times, is that you may think that Yom Kippur is the best day to take out the Jewish people because of what they may be doing on that day. But the truth is, the Gemara says otherwise. The Gemara says that there are 364 days in the Jewish calendar that the Satan has permission, that the accuser has permission to talk negative and terrible things about the Jewish people, to accuse us. Because, a little bit of gematria here, the Gemara makes the gematria, that if you take the word has-Satan, which means the accuser, the heavenly angel who accuses the Jewish people, has-Satan is the gematria, the numerical value of 364, because a hey is 5, and a sin is 300, a tes is 9, and then a nun is 50. Together it's 364. 364 days of the year our enemy is able to prosecute against us. But there's one day in the Jewish calendar where he has no permission to say anything, and that's Yom Kippur. But what that means, that on the surface it may appear that Yom Kippur is your best day, but in truth it's the best day for the Jewish people. Because the day in which we're most vulnerable, we're really not vulnerable. Because on that day, on Yom Kippur, where we're in shul, and we're davening, and we're doing tshuva, and we're fasting, you think we may be weak, and we have no way to respond and to fight for ourselves, at that time, what we're doing on Yom Kippur is we're turning to Hashem, when we're saying to Hashem, the gates are open, and we're saying, Hashem Yisbarach, this is your day. You do everything. This is the day that you reveal your oneness in the world. When we're most vulnerable, and we give things over to you, that's when you take over, and you demonstrate who's really in the boss, who's really in control, who's really one. And on that day that Hashem reveals His oneness, we're untouchable. And that was the same thing which happened with Mordechai. Then in the same way that Yom Kippur is called that one day of the year, Chazal call it Yom Echad. The oneness of Hashem is revealed on that day. And what we do in Shul is a reflection of the oneness which is manifested on that day. Mordechai says, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, and he's in that zone of Hashem is one. He may be prostrated on the floor and he looks like he's the most vulnerable, but that's really the time where he's most protected. Because at that time, he's given everything over to Hashem, and Hashem is hovering over him. And Hashem is saying, I got your back when you're on the floor. I'm taking care of you now. And that's really what bitachon is. Bitachon means that you have somebody to depend upon because you know that Hashem, in His infinite oneness and in His kindness, and His mercy which He has for you, that you can depend upon Him because He's so merciful, and He's so caring, and He's so loving. And you depend upon His kindness. This is not just blind. You recognize that Hashem Yisbarach, that His Rahmanas, that His compassion is literally endless. Endless, endless, endless. And the more that we understand the extent of His compassion, it runs much, much deeper than human compassion can run. And a tzaddik who understands the depth of that Rahman doesn't just depend on, hopefully, something. That Rahman of Hashem, the depth of the compassion that He has, is certain. He can depend on it 100%. More than he can depend on the fact that he can take his next step forward, he can depend upon Hashem's Rahman. So therefore, that's not bitachon is not just a midah that a person can just say. If he's in the maybe zone, right? Then that's not 100% bitachon. That's not what we're talking about. The tzaddik, that a person is not just a tzaddik, it's something which is in the reservoirs of who we are. That it just needs to come out. That we recognize that Hashem is one, and we all believe that Hashem is one. Part of that oneness is the recognition that Hashem's infinite kindness is something which we become. We see this from the Gemara. The Gemara says, when it's explaining Mordechai, because the Gemara is going on now, which the pasuk says about Mordechai's lineage. It says Mordechai was who? Ben Yair, ben Shimi, ben Kish. The son of Yair, the son of Shimi, the son of Kish. And Chazal say, what does it mean he's the son of Kish? And we darshan all these things because we don't need to know his lineage just because. We want to know, it's telling us something about Mordechai and how he was able to bring about this nace, this miracle. What does it mean, Ben Kish? So Chazal say Kish is a lashon of knocking. It was Hikish al dalse Rachamim. That he knocked on the doors of Rachamim. And you know, Mordechai didn't stop knocking. Every time Haman came back with something, Mordechai knocked, and he knocked again, and he knocked harder and harder and harder because he didn't give up, and he never said, maybe Hashem's Rachamim ends over here. Even after 70 years of being in Golis and there was no Beit Midrash, and Achashverosh was sitting at the party and he was wearing the clothes of the Kohen Gadol, Chazal say, as if to show that this would never be rebuilt again. Mordechai would just say, I know that Hashem's Rachamim is deeper than what I understand, and he depended and he banked on that Rachamim. And he never stopped knocking on the door because he knew more than human compassion can run, so runs Hashem's Rahman. One of the things which we say at the end of reading the Megillah, we say Shoshanas Yaakov Tzahalav V'Samecha. And we start to say Orah Haman, and we say Arura Zeresh, they should be cursed, Haman should be cursed, and his wife Zeresh should be cursed. And we say Brucha Esther, Esther, you're Brucha, you're blessed. And we say Mordechai, you're blessed, Baruch Mordechai. What does it mean, Baruch Mordechai? Mordechai, you're blessed. Because we say a pasuk in Uvalutzion every day in the davening. We say, Baruch HaGever Asher Yiftach B'Hashem. Blessed is the one that he has bitachon in Hashem. That a person's bracha that he sees in his life is according to the bitachon that he has in Hashem. Baruch Mordechai. The bracha, the channel which brings down that blessing into our life, is according to the bitachon that we're able to bring out in Hashem, to recognize that he loves us, that he cares for us, that we're so important to him in a world of 8 billion people. The few thousands, tens, millions, whatever it is, how many Yidden that there are. Of course, Hashem loves all of his creation, but there's a special love that Hashem has for the Jewish people. He says, you're my children. And we know that a father and a mother, the love that they have for their children, no matter how many times they make mistakes, the love is still there, and the encouragement is still there. If that's true about us, and he gave us those feelings to be able to recognize and to be able to tap into them, to say, if that's true about me, of human flesh and blood, how much more so about the God, the creator of the universe, endless, endless compassion for us. And that's the channel which brings bracha into our lives. The more bitachon we're able to bring out. And I'll tell you a little bit of a secret. There's a very deep secret connected to this. It comes from the teachings of the Arizal, the works of Kabbalah. He says a very Kabbalistic explanation, which we don't need to go into. The Arizal says that when a Jew drinks on Purim, the Gemara says that he should drink ad lo yada, until he gets to a state where he doesn't know the difference between Baruch Mordechai and Har Haman. The fact that Mordechai is blessed and that Haman is cursed. Different explanations to what that means, but the Arizal has a very deep teaching, and again, he bases it on a very deep concept in Kabbalah, where he says that a Jew should become so shikr and so drunk, and don't laugh, that he says Baruch Haman. He should say Baruch is Haman. Very perplexing. That you should say Baruch Haman? It's a pretty big mistake. It's pretty drunk. That you should say Baruch Haman. For our purposes, perhaps you could say the following explanation, because the words of the Arizal and all words of Torah, Shivim Panim LaTorah, you can explain it in 70 different ways. Endless ways you can explain words of Torah. You just need to have a Rav and a Rabbi to be able to guide you, to be able to know what's real pshat and what's not a real pshat explanation. There's a teaching that the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, the holy Baal Shem Tov, that he taught in the name of the Ramban. The Ramban said, I tell you, that not only if a tzaddik has real bitachon in Hashem, then Hashem will be there for him no matter what. V'vadai, certainly, if the tzaddik has bitachon in Hashem. But I tell you this, that even if a rasha, even if a wicked person has full bitachon in Hashem, that Hashem Yisbarach will answer him. The explanation is what we said before, because when it comes to bitachon, it's not a matter of how many merits you have versus how many averos which you have. Bitachon means that you're relying upon Hashem's compassion. And Hashem's compassion for each and every Jew, each and every person, that if he relies on Hashem's compassion, he is certain to be answered. Because how many merits a person has is no factor in this. Because Hashem's compassion is completely endless. So says the Ramban, even if he's wicked, he's a very wicked person, if he relies on Hashem's compassion, he'll be answered. Perhaps this is what the Arizal means that he's hinting to when he says that you should drink to a state that you're so shikr, that you're so drunk, that you say Baruch Haman. Because of course Haman represents the wicked one. But when it comes to the midah of bitachon, which is Baruch HaGever Asher Yiftach Hashem, blessed is he who has bitachon in Hashem. The teaching is that even a Haman, if he has bitachon in Hashem's love and his compassion, you say about that Baruch Haman. Hashem will be there for him. And that's not something which we can really understand because we don't understand the depth of Hashem's Rahmanas. So that's why the teaching is that you're in such a state of shikhrus, like what Moshe Tzvi was speaking about, that we can't see things as they're moving forward. We only see things retroactively. So as we're moving forward, we can't really fathom what it means, this concept. So we have to go into a state where we're like out of our das, out of our mind. We're in the state of shikhrus, of drunkenness. We're out of our normal consciousness. In that place, we can understand it, but we're not ready to understand that. That's beyond our capability to understand as we are as human beings. We don't understand the depth of Hashem's bitachon and Hashem's rahmanis that He has for us. But we come to a place on Purim where we can at least say that we don't understand it. Baruch Haman, Hashem is Baruch, you're there for everybody who trusts in you. And we have to know that we have what to trust in. That His compassion is mamish endless, it's really endless. And to be His chosen people, we're so privileged. Be able to have this relationship with Him, and to really be the only nation on earth which understands what it means Hashem is one. That Hashem is one, that He's the totality, that He's everything, and the schus that we have to be His chosen people. So Hashem Yisbarach should help us that as we move into this Yud Kuf on the Jewish calendar, in the month of Adar, as we approach the Yontiv of Purim, Hashem should awaken that reservoir which we have within ourselves, to recognize the schus which we have, be part of a wonderful kehillah, Yeshiva Rabbi, who are teaching us every single day what it means that Hashem is one, and bringing us closer to His Torah and to do His will. We should be able to fulfill all the mitzvahs of the Yontiv appropriately. Hashem Yisbarach should help us, that He should awaken the Jewish neshama which we all have. And with that, to find bitachon in our own individual lives and communal lives, and as a tzibur, we should be zeicha to awaken Hashem's compassion, we should every one of us and for the whole world, and to greet Mashiach to Kenu, to be a koyal tzedek in heaven.
you. They want to see you. Chris even watched you for a little bit. So Chris watched you. Yehuda Coffee